All right, it looks like our numbers have started to stabilize a little bit, so we'll go ahead and get started. Um, just to kick us off here, I want to say welcome to all of you who joined us tonight. I'm glad you could make some time out of your busy schedule to be here with us. My name is Dalton Dye, and I'm one of the assistant directors for the New Student and Family Programs Office here at Duke University. And we're thrilled that you've been able to make some time to speak with us here. If you've been a part of some of our previous webinars, welcome back. If this is your first time joining us, just some context, we host these webinars weekly throughout the summer to get important information directly from our campus experts to you all as parents and family members. All of our webinars are recorded, including this one right now. So you can always go to our YouTube page or our New Student and Family Programs website to review any past content and register for our future events. Tonight, we've invited some campus experts to talk a little bit about belonging and the work that they're doing here at Duke University to create a welcoming, inclusive environment for all of our students. Before I turn it over to them, I just wanted to give you a heads up that, like I said, we are recording this webinar. It'll be posted online after we're finished. You'll also see at the bottom of your screen a Q&A button. This is your way of asking questions directly to our panelists tonight. At the end of the presentation, we will have time for some Q&A, and we'll start going through those questions and answering them for the group. So feel free to drop your questions in as we go along tonight, and then we'll have some time at the end to go through those. I think that was all the housekeeping pieces that I had. So I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ben Adams to do some introduction and lay the groundwork, and we'll get started. So once again, thank you all for being here. Ben?
Thanks, Dalton, and thanks to everyone who's joining us tonight. As Dalton said, my name is Ben Adams. I serve at Duke as the Senior Associate Dean of Students for QuadX, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means tonight. I apologize in advance. I can hear my child thundering around downstairs, and so he may burst through the door behind me at any moment. I have a 2.5-year-old that is on the loose, and so all of you who are on the call have probably experienced that at some point in your life, and so it's a real thing. As just we kind of head towards bedtime. So apologies. Tonight, I'm joined by 3 of my incredible colleagues that I get to work with every day in this amazing work that we do to support your students. And so I'm going to invite them to introduce themselves and tell a little bit about who they are, their department, and what area they work in, and kind of what population of students perhaps that they serve. And then one question I want to do to just dive right into what we're talking about tonight is, what does belonging mean to you? And I'm going to ask that from a personal perspective of you. What does belonging mean? So let me just go, for simplicity's sake, let me go in alphabetical order, which means we're going to start by first name, which means we're going to start with Allie, and then we'll move Allie, Anna, and Joyce, and we'll move around the circle. So thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. My name is Allie Harrison. I serve as the Senior Associate Dean for Residence Education and Faculty Engagement. And so my area of focus is our Residence Life Department, Housing and Residence Life, that many of you have gotten some information from probably so far this summer about where you're living and who you're living with. So our area of focus is looking at how do we work with our students in regard to facilities and housing assignments, if you kind of look at the nuts and bolts of it. But the fun part of what we do is working with our students on thinking about how you build community, how you engage with your neighbor, what it means to be in community here at Duke, particularly as a first year. We also oversee our RA program and the housing staff that lives in. So the residence coordinators who you were just recently maybe introduced to, and then your RAs who you'll meet when you arrive later in August. And then we also work with various departments on policy enforcement and our academic initiatives. So the faculty and residents who live in the various communities that you'll be a part of this upcoming year, and then student care and concern as we reach out to students, who may have a tough time during their time here at Duke, and we work with those offices to support those students. So that's a little bit about kind of how and the many ways you may interact with folks, me or folks on my team. There's about 16 of us that you may interact with at any given point in time on the professional staff side. You asked the question about what belonging means to me, and I would say, for me, belonging means that I'm in a space, whether physical or just spiritual, in a space where I can be myself and I feel supported, and I know where I can get support from to be me, to be Allie. gonna hop it to Anna.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much again for spending some time with us. My name is Anna Lennon. I'm the Director of Student Involvement and Leadership here at Duke. So I work with all of the on-campus student organizations and helping them flourish, grow, managing all of their events and all of those fun pieces. The main student programming body, Duke University Union, is advised out of our office. So all of the super fun things that you see, from concerts, the last day of classes celebration, trivia nights in Craft House, all that stuff is great students that I get to work with. We also have a number of different leadership programs to help grow and develop all of the awesome skills that students bring with them. And then our on-campus fraternities and sororities are also advised out of my office, which is a great space of belonging for those students. I have an amazing team of other humans and student staff, the size of an army some days, that make that happen. So there's a lot going on in our space, and it's a pretty dynamic and exciting thing to do. Our main audience is truly the entirety of the student body. I often say that after orientation happens and you have that one big welcome to Duke, we are the next space that everyone is sort of handed off to, right? You'll see that at the Welcome Back Bash this year on Saturday after orientation. But we're just a really excited place to be able to help bring some vibrancy to that outside of class experience for students that's not also the part of where you live. The piece of what belonging means to me, I've thought about a lot in my career, and there's a couple things that come to mind. For me, it's a sense of alignment that I find I feel aligned with the space that I'm in and the people that I'm around, right? And that could be our values, our experiences, whatever thing is aligned that's keeping us together in that way. I also really think that belonging comes from being a sense of being part of something bigger than yourself, right? That I can say there's this intangible, there's something else besides just me and the humans individually that are here. The sum of our parts is bigger. And that's a really great feeling to have. And finally, I also think there's a real value in belonging of not just feeling seen for who you are, but seeing people that you want to also be like. That there's some kind of aspirational piece of, oh yeah, there's people here that not only reflect who I am, but who I want to be. And so I want to stick around and invest and learn more about them. And that doesn't even have to be someone older than you that you're like, I want to grow into that situation. It can be, I have friends that are also great quality, have these great qualities that I really want to lean into and learn from and feel connected to.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joyce Gordon. I'm the director of Jewish Life at Duke. I use the she, her series of pronouns. I am here on behalf of the 6 identity and cultural centers within student affairs here at Duke: the Center for Multicultural Affairs, the Center for Muslim Life, the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity, Jewish Life at Duke, my department, the Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture, affectionately known as the Lou, and the Women's Center. Our centers serve every student. Let's be real. We have a focus on students from marginalized backgrounds, and we tend to see students from all backgrounds throughout the life of, throughout their Duke tenure. And we program, I will get in later into, what we program, our keynote programs, our signature programs, but there are fun, social, cultural, educational programs. We also advocate for the needs of marginalized students. When I think about belonging, I think about being in a place and a space where I can open the fridge and where I load the dishwasher. And by that, I mean, if you think about places where you feel comfortable opening the fridge, it tends to be places and spaces that it's either your home or your best friend's house. And so those are places you feel really comfortable opening the fridge and taking something out. That to me embodies like feeling at home in a place and feeling like I really belong to that place and space and to those people. Likewise, loading the dishwasher, I take responsibility for the space around me, and I take responsibility for my impact on the community around me, whether it's my family or my friend's house. And so if it's a place and a space where in my brain I can imagine opening the fridge and loading the dishwasher, I know I belong.
How am I supposed to follow that response? That was a brilliant response to the question. Just for a little bit of context, to because I didn't answer the rest of the questions as well. Again, Ben Adams, Senior Associate Dean of Students for QuadX. I have the privilege of working alongside several departments here at Duke that support students, all students kind of throughout their time. One is the New Student Family Programs Office, which is the students or the office that supports students as they transition to Duke and help set them up for success so that they can kind of hit the ground running when they're here. It also supports families. I support Do Well, which is our wellness unit here at Duke that strengthens students in their sense of well-being and works alongside students that are incoming students all the way through the graduate and professional schools as well. I also work alongside the Balther Cassidy Fellows, which is a fellowship that supports and strengthens healthy relationships on campus and allows students to build community in meaningful ways. And so those are recent graduates who support that work. And then I coordinate and kind of lead our efforts with QuadX, which I do want to just kind of take a second to explain a little bit about what that is. Because QuadX is something that you may hear and you may not hear, and it's okay either way if you do. So QuadX is really Duke's campus-wide commitment to what we believe is like three kind of key pillars of the experience here at Duke, which is belonging, engagement, and well-being. We want all of our students to feel like they belong here, that they are supported and they're honored, not just for who they are, but what they can contribute to the life of the community. We want our students to come alive by the engaging activities that it can do, whether you are involved in one of the identity and cultural centers, or you're involved in your residence hall kind of structure of leadership, or you're involved in DUU or any of the engagements. We want the experience that we provide to bring out the best version of our students. And so we're all constantly finding ways to get students connected to meaningful engagement. And the last thing, which is I think is important for me as a parent, but I'm sure is for you as a parents and families as well, is to make sure that our students are well, that they are supported in their growth, their well-being, that they feel like they have access to the resources that they need to thrive. So that's a little bit about what QuadX does. I think the metaphor that works for a lot of people is it's an operating system. I mean, it's a behind the scenes kind of structure, the way that we coordinate and sync things together. And so you may hear a little bit about that, but that's at the heart of what we're trying to do. For me, belonging is truly about a place where I do come alive. It's a place where the people around me allow me to be the best version of myself, and not just allow me to, but invite me to and actively bring it out of me. And so I think, you know, there's the difference between kind of being invited to the dance and then being invited onto the dance floor. And there's a little bit of difference that we're moving towards as a university. And that's really what QuadX was all about, was saying we can bring together this diverse population of students from all around the world. Now that they're here, do they feel that they are invited out into the dance floor and that they can become the best versions of themselves? And so this is what our campus-wide commitment is all about. And again, I get the privilege of working with all of these colleagues that you see here tonight and a host of other colleagues, both on the student affairs side of things and the academic side of things, to ensure this is true for every single one of our undergraduate students that comes to Duke. So that just gives you a little bit of context about what we do as a university and the commitment that we have to you as a family member, but also to your student when they get here. So I want to talk a little bit about, we're going to talk about belonging, but we're going to talk about a number of things. But just to kind of set the stage, I'm going to ask a little bit more of a fun question. This was not a question that was pre-scripted, so I'm giving the team a heads up and a curveball as the first one. The question I want to ask is, like, what is your favorite thing about the Duke student population? Like, what, just help us understand the Duke student population by focusing on that favorite thing. I'm going to go in reverse order than I did last time. So Joyce, curveball, it's coming to you first, my friend.
How did I know that was going to happen, Ben? Y'all, I love Duke students. And I love Duke students maybe for a reason that, you know, our esteemed colleagues throughout the university may not be aware of or get to see. Duke students are trying to be themselves. They are trying to experiment with what they're studying, with what they're learning, with how they're growing, with doing new things, with doing old things in a different way. They are messy and they are exploring and they're gonna make mistakes. And that is just the special sauce. It's just when you see a student in the first year and they are I cannot express it. It's just, it is so endearing and so lovable about all Duke students. When you see a student in the first year and they're like, I'm going to be a computer science major, and they are gung-ho about it, and you love that for them, and they're enthusiastic. And then a month later, they say, I don't know what I was thinking. What is going to become of me? I thought I was going to be a computer science major. And you say, all right, well, we're here on this journey with you. We are here on this journey with you, and you're going to be okay at the end of the journey. And then later on, they turn out they're a neuroscience major and they love it. I mean, it is the messy experimental journey, and they go through it and they come out the other side, and I just love that. I love it. It's such a mess. I love it.
I think similar to Joyce, part of what I love about working with Duke students is a bit of a journey piece, but it shows up in a different way sometimes. We are an office where, when you think about student orgs, there's many things that they're like, hey, I need to come in and check about this process, or can someone tell me about this event thing? And it's a very like 1 or 2 questions, right? And students are really just, they're action oriented and they just want the answer and the result, and that's great. I'm happy to give it to them. I love that. I love that we can provide quick options for students. But the flip side of that I really appreciate is, once those students find the 1 or 2 people that they know they can get that answer from, then you're their person, right? So once that student finds me and they're like, well, you answered this twice, you answered 2 other questions for me, so like now you're my person. And I love being able to be someone's person, and knowing that, you know, I'm not trying to replace anyone else in their life, but I just want them to have an adult they can trust here. And sometimes that means that while I'm just sitting here doing my email for a while, they're like, can I just sit at your table and do some homework for 30 minutes between my classes? Because I just want to be around you and just have a good space to sit, right? And I love that. I love that those students are really hungry for that connection and building that relationship with us. And that's one of the things that really invigorates me, feels, makes my work wonderful, that I love coming to work to see, you know, that Connor, who sits in our office all the time, is here again. And I get to see him in the morning, be like, hey, Connor, how are you doing today? Talk about his coffee order or whatever it is, right? So I really appreciate that connection that they're excited to forge.
Oh, it's hard being last. Definitely echo everything everyone shared. But you know, I would add one. I've been here about 2 years, and I would say one of my favorite things about Duke students, and I have the opportunity to work with first years and upper class students, is their desire to want to walk alongside Duke administrators and staff and faculty to bring about positive change. Like, I think there's like spaces where people just want to complain, but like I think that, and this is, you know, the 5th school I've worked at in my kind of career in higher education, where students are like, I have a thing, I have an idea, help me understand it, and then how can we work together to make it better? It's not just kind of dumped on us, as you know. And I've really appreciated that. The proposals I've read from students, I mean, simple things from, we have ideas on how you could do the roommate process matching better, to, you know, we need Narcan in the halls. I mean, like a lot of the things that, you know, we do, I'm appreciative of how supportive the students are, because we try to get them to walk alongside us. And a lot of times they come from students knocking on the door to someone saying, I have this thought, I have this idea. Even as first years, on East Campus, we have something called the East Campus Council, and some of the ideas that those students bring forward, and we're like, that has nothing to do with us in residence life, but let me connect you with someone who can maybe, you know, help you or bring your idea to fruition. And so it's just been really great in these last 2 years to see those students grow, build on their ideas, pivot in some areas, but they're doing it not in a sense to just make a name for themselves, but they really want to make Duke a better place. And so I've really liked it. That energizes me as well.
Those are all awesome responses. I think that's echoing kind of everything. You kind of touched on a lot of what I would say as well. So kind of to pivot a little bit and go back to this sense of belonging. So we have these students that come from all walks of life. We have these students with all different passions and energies and experiences. What is it that you see your team doing and your area of work doing to foster that sense of belonging amongst our student population? Anna, we're going to start with you and then we're gonna go Allie, then Joyce. So
How did I know? I think there's a couple things that sort of operate along a continuum of how much students want something to belong that our office offers, right? At the most basic level, having a place that you can go and show up and know that people are going to say hi and you can engage in a fun activity and then you can be done, right? We offer a lot of that student programming and the hundreds of events that happen that are put on by other students that you don't have to have some fancy plan for. It's free. You can pop in to this little music show at the coffee house on East Campus, see a cool band with a, wild name that is definitely cooler than I know, and sit down for 45 minutes, enjoy that, chat with someone and be like, okay, I'm going to go back to my room and do my homework again. So there's that really simple level of belonging, of having a place that you can go or something you can go do that's really easy and open access. And we are excited to see you and love to have you there, right? On the other end of that, there's much more in-depth experiences that students can have in all of those student organizations. There are over 600 student orgs at Duke. It is quite a lot. And so that means that there is pretty much something for every interest, right? We really encourage folks to explore that. On the first week of classes on Thursday this year, we'll have the Duke Groups Fair on East Campus. And it is a time when all of these orgs have their tables out. You can go talk to people, find out what you're interested in. And it's a space to make a longer term connection and find a place where you can develop intellectually or work on your physical activity because you want to join the weightlifting club, or just have fun because you love watching movies with these people, right? There's a breadth of opportunity there that you can really pick something that you want to dive into and be connected to for those 4 years, and is often a space where you make some really long-term connections that last outside of, a semester in a class. And that sense of belonging around a specific topic is really important for folks as well. So we really have that continuum of ways that we build belonging in our space.
Think I was next. Couple of things that I'll talk about. One, I'll start with the tool to help build belonging. We recognize that the facility is one aspect of your housing experience, but the environment, the energy that the students are bringing and our staff are bringing is really a co-created space of what your experience is going to be, there. And so, in our department, we work with our RA team and train them to talk about how do you build community? How do you help students think about I may be living with someone I've known, I may be living with someone I've never met, I may be living with someone who I thought was like me. It may look different from me on surface level than we meet, and we have so much more in common, like, with our random first year assignments. And so for us, when we think about fostering belonging, we recognize that some of that may organically happen for some folks and may organically connect to certain things in the community or the larger ethos of certain areas. But we also recognize and hope that our staff, who we work with and train as peer leaders, can help walk alongside our students to talk about and create an environment to say, we recognize it may be hard to talk about difference, or, saying, am I a night owl or early riser, right? And some of those things, just to start in the space where you are sleeping, living, and hoping, we want you to make connections for. So providing those tools and working with peer leaders to educate them on how to be able to work with students, notice trends, to make sure that our first year and all of our on-campus residents, when they're trying to build relationships with our RAs, trying to build relationships with our residents, part of that's just to build rapport, but to also check in on how are you doing and wellness, how to make other connections. So like Anna talked about, there's so many clubs and organizations and centers, and some of them people may know more about, but navigating the resources and understanding all of the different nuances here, being able to help do that and connect our students. So our hope is that whether, it's your RA or a different RA, we're able to create and provide the resources to help with that. Another piece that's pretty cool that we haven't talked about yet, that our department sponsors and works with, is our councils. And so we have what we call house and quad councils. And these are student volunteers who essentially say, we're here to program for our peers. And so they're going to also help with creating programs and making connections in the residence hall, bringing in different campus partners to help you feel connected to your individual house and the quad and connect you with upper class students on West Campus. So those are just a couple examples that I would say that we help with belonging. And the last thing I think is really that piece that I say when we talk about hiring, we have about 180 RAs on staff, probably about half of them are on East Campus. Their goal is to build relationships and to also, when things aren't going right, that we're hoping that if your RA is someone you can go to or can get you connected, because we recognize that there's a lot of spaces that students are going to traverse on campus, their home, their academics, the dining facilities, and sometimes things aren't always going to go the way as planned. It may not be what you envision if you thought your whole life I'm coming to Duke, but we also recognize that our professional staff and our student staff within Residence Life and many other peer leaders want to promote belonging by being able to also be that catch-all for you when you feel like, hey, maybe I'm not belonging. Here's someone you can talk to about it, that we can connect, course correct, or see other ways to get you connected. And so we're really excited as we welcome our new RAs coming back to train them about the important role that they play in helping with those connections.
It is a really hard act to go last, everyone, because these are such great methods and ways of fostering belonging across campus. Again, I am representing the 6 identity and cultural centers throughout Duke. And we are all guided by 3 main themes. We call them our roots. They ground us. The first is advocacy. The second is identity exploration. And the third is community building. And with all 3 of these roots, we are fostering a sense of belonging with students, not just that they feel that they belong, but that they also welcome other students and help other students know that they belong as well. Each of our centers helps students advocate for themselves and for others, and we advocate for them as well. We develop opportunities for students to deepen their understanding of their own identities and other identities and intersectional identities. We design experiences to foster friendships. We think about friendship and how friendship is created, and we intentionally design experiences. It could be a program, it could be a cohort, it could be I'm going to stroll around West Campus today and I'm going to pull 2 students that look lonely together that are eating by themselves on the Bryan Center Plaza. We are very intentional about that. And we have physical spaces on campus. The identity and cultural centers have physical spaces that we have cultivated and curated to be places of community, joy, rest. Students will flop in a beanbag in the Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity. They will flop in a beanbag at the Freeman Center for Jewish Life. They will lay across the couch in the beautiful new Mary Lou Williams Center. And it is intended for students. All of our spaces are intended for students to feel at home, to take the weight of their academic burden off, and to be in a supportive community where they know when they walk into that space, there will be people there who love them. That's at the core of our work. And that's how we foster belonging.
That's excellent, y'all. I'm going to chime in and touch on two very brief areas. One, I want to pick up something that Allie said around wellness and the idea of are you well? Do Well, which is one of our offices that supports well-being here among our students, is really a driving force behind checking in on our students to make sure they have the resources that they need to thrive here at Duke before they even know that they need those resources in a lot of ways, to establish rhythms and patterns of well-being to take care of themselves. Because for many, it's their first time living away from home and not necessarily having anyone to coach them through directly in some of those efforts to check in on them. And so Do Well offers that. The second thing I think is important about belonging that our team and new student and family programs offers is, I think, and maybe this is something that's true for me personally about what belonging means, but the idea of if you say I belong, then not only do you make space for me, but you make space for my people, like my family, like in who I come from and where I'm from and like what I believe. And so I think about that personally, just with a child. And there's a sense of like, if you love me, you love my kid too, right? And the best way actually to support me is to support my kid. And as families who are supporting the students from afar, just know that it kind of is the reverse for us, in the sense of, if we love your kid, we're going to love you too. So we want to make sure that you feel supported as families, as you are coaching your student in a new life phase during these next 4 years. And so our team works throughout the year, not just in the transition to Duke, but throughout the year, to make sure that you are equipped as family members to feel like you're in on what's going on at Duke, that you feel like you're supported by our community, and that you've got the resources to coach your student through this new chapter of their development. So just a little bit more about belonging and the different ways we help to make sure students belong, but also the extended Duke family belong as well. So I'm going to pivot to this next question, and here we go, curveball. I'm going to I'll open it up to anyone to chime in first, and so we're not going to go in round robin. But one of the questions I want to ask is, just tell us a little bit about an exciting new initiative that your team is currently invested in, or kind of. It doesn't have to be just about belonging, but it could be about just student development in general, or any opportunity that you're providing students these days.
I'm happy to jump in for folks, since the other teams on this call have been invested in supporting this initiative the last few days. My team in student involvement and leadership, and Duke as a whole, is investing in our second year. We're getting ready to launch of an initiative called the Duke True North Leadership Program. And we have some really great partners in the George Family Foundation, and a model called True North Leadership that Bill George wrote for Harvard Business School students, and all this really cool stuff. But what we're working on building it into is a 3-year program that eventually all Duke students will get the chance to go through and complete, learning about their own self as a leader, how their life story and those experiences impact how they decide to lead, building some emotional intelligence and self-awareness about their values, and deciding how they want to continue to grow in that space, and then really starting to think about how that impacts how they lead others. And the idea of this program is really transformative. We are one of the only places that is taking this True North content and using it across a whole span, as opposed to just in like one class that, those 20 students take it in a class for one semester, right? We're the only school that's doing it in this model right now. And we just had a great visit with the foundation president, and he even said, like, Harvard's going to look at you and be like, how are y'all doing that? That's really cool. Let's try it over here. So we're really excited about the potential for this to reshape how we talk about leadership, and how all of our students think about those skills and build and grow themselves, but then also how they go out into the world and make all of the amazing change that they want to go do, and work in all the amazing spaces they're going to, right? I love the examples of, I might have a student who goes through this program that's going to go be a clerk for the Supreme Court, right? Like, but if I can help them have good language about how to influence and work with other people really effectively and thoughtfully, that's amazing, right? And so I'm just so excited about the continued potential for this. If you're thinking, I want my student to do that, there's a couple ways that it's getting rolled out right now. Allie's team is wonderfully having all of their quad and house councils and RAs complete the program. So if your student's going to be a first year on East Campus and they join the house council, they'll go through the program. And then all of the identity and cultural centers, their student staff or interns are working through the program in their cohort pockets. So many of the spaces that Joyce talked about have student staff that are going to be working with the program this year. So there's a lot of opportunity there to get connected and work on that. So we're really excited about the amazing potential for this program.
Thanks, Anna. Yes, all of our student staff is participating in True North. And if your student is looking for an on-campus job, there is a tool called JobX. We're all also hiring student staff. So your student can look for JobX. And we will drop the link. I'll grab the link and drop it when I'm done chatting about initiatives that we're all doing. For the identity and cultural centers, y'all, I took notes because there are 6 of us and we have a lot of initiatives. And so I want to run through some highlights for all of the identity and cultural centers. The Center for Multicultural Affairs, soon after students arrive on campus, they will see the CMA, Center for Multicultural Affairs, holding First Friday Breakfast. First Friday Breakfast is a fun time, y'all. Everybody needs to go. And the center also leads and sponsors many of the heritage months, such as Latinx Heritage Month in September. So it's right at the beginning of the semester, as well as AAPI Heritage Month, Native American Heritage Month, and many, many programs. So students are going to hear from the Center for Multicultural Affairs right away. The Center for Muslim Life. I hope during students' time at Duke, everyone takes the opportunity to visit the CML, the Center for Muslim Life, either for Friday Juma prayer. You don't have to be Muslim to attend. They welcome the community to respectfully hang out in a vestibule kind of area, in a little entry area, and we all will gather together and then break bread together after prayer. They're also renowned for their welcome barbecue, for their Friendsgiving, and for their replete programming throughout Ramadan. Chaplain Joshua, who is the director of Muslim Life, makes breakfast, and there's an iftar dinner every night. And finally, the Center for Muslim Life has an excellent training on Islamophobia entitled Been Here, Still Here, that I recommend that every student take while they're here at Duke. The Center for Sexual and Gender Diversity, the CSGD. The CSGD is the place to be on Friday afternoons because they have a kickback every Friday afternoon, which has a different themed activity and snacks, and it's just a great relaxed vibe to get together and hang out. They also lead the campus for National Coming Out Day, LGBTQIA+ History Month, the annual Pride Parade, which happens in Durham in September, not in June, the Queer and Trans Leadership Series, and so much more. Jewish Life at Duke, that's my department. We are the home for all things Jewish at Duke. We have egalitarian Shabbat services on Fridays, followed by a free kosher dinner. Everyone's welcome. Don't have to be Jewish to attend. We celebrate all the Jewish holidays. We maintain a kosher cafe in the Freeman Center for Jewish Life, which is on the Duke meal plan. And we are renowned for our bagels and mac and cheese. Don't knock until you try it on Wednesdays. The Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture, the Lou, starts off the year with Black on Vacation, which is a joyful and affirming and inspiring event where Black faculty and staff share their wisdom, their joy, their inspiration with students at the beginning of the year. Signature programs from the Lou include First Fridays, which is a drop-in of food and fun and family and music. Breaking Bread, which is a first-year focused event on East Campus. On the Way, this program is incredible, y'all. This is a 3-day early college retreat for first years. Unbelievable. Lots of friendships forged on that program. And then a full month of programming for Black History Month, and again, so much more. And then finally, the Women's Center. The Women's Center has monthly programs like Wind Down Wednesdays with fun and food. Food is a theme with all of our centers. Are you picking that up? Community building and support, lunch and learn workshops, major events that the Women's Center programs for the entire campus community, the annual Reproductive Justice Conference during Women's History Month, the FEM Student Group Showcase, the Whimsy Awards, and a lot more. So we are all working on stuff for your students and for the whole campus community.
Go ahead, Allie.
One thing I can share, it's actually, I wouldn't call it an initiative, but I think just a different way of how we've approached housing. And so I think we're in our third year, this class makes our third year of the Quad Connections. And so I would say, I think what we're really excited about, and if you're like, what are you talking about? So when you got your information about where you are living, and I'm going to pick on if you live in Blackwell and Randolph, those two buildings as first year students on East Campus are what we call two houses. They're connected to a residential quad on West Campus. And so in our new housing model, where those students who live in Blackwell and Randolph, your sophomore year, you already know where you're going to go your sophomore year. So you would go to Cohane Quad on West Campus. And so we're super excited in this coming up iteration, to not make it feel just a transactional, this is where I'm going. The whole purpose of these quad connections is to think about how first year students are building community, not only within the house they live in, but those two houses, and also being connected to upper class students who live in that connecting quad. And then, you know, as we think about building history and traditions, and things to welcome first years into those quads. And so they're coming up with new welcome events for first years, you know, Kroll, there's something called the Night of the Crow that I won't get into too many of the details, but get excited. You'll get invited to it in early September. And so we're excited to kind of still bring life and, you know, for you all as students to help us think about what that looks like, what that feels like, what makes sense, what feels organic, as we continue to build pride and identity into what it means to be part of the various quads that we have in our QuadX model.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Just to everybody that's listening and following along, I'm gonna go ahead and invite you to start kind of entering questions if you've got them. Feel free to drop them in. We will get to them in just 1 second. I'm gonna ask our team one more question before we turn to those, and then I'll save our last question as like a final wrap up for the night, the kind of concluding remark. So as people gather their questions, wondering from you all, what advice do you have to new to Duke students in finding their place or their community or their people on campus? What advice might you offer those students?
Happy to jump in a little bit on this one. We think about it a lot because our office has that big Duke Groups fair in the first week, and it's this large space where you can go. The possibilities feel endless, right? One of the things that I think our students really want to do is take advantage of everything. There's this sense that if I don't do it right away, I've lost it, right? I have to do all of the things. And my advice is twofold. One, remember that Duke is not the only time that you get to do cool stuff. Because you're used to doing it and you think about cool things and you find awesome stuff here, you will also go do that in the world afterwards, right? That's part of what Duke helps you do when you leave here. So don't approach any of this with a this is the only chance mindset, right? There's lots of cool spaces for that after here, which is a bizarre thing to talk about after right now, but that long-term view is easy to forget. My second piece of that layer is when you come to college, you are learning how to college for the first time. And that's really easy to forget because you're so excited about being here and you feel like you should know it all. And it's surprising when you don't. It is an entirely different way to operate if you have not been in college before. So you've got to learn to adjust to that. And my big advice for folks is talk to as many people as you want at that Duke Groups Fair. Go find all these student orgs, but pick 2 to 3 that you really want to go invest in. And maybe you try like 6 different general body meetings or open invitations from them, but then really try to pick that down to 2 or 3 that you want to focus your energy on in your first semester or so. And I would say one of those could be really career academic enriching for you, that you're like, I want to be a lawyer, so I'm going to connect with a pre-law group, right? That's great. And make sure one of them is fun in some way, right? That is just about something that is fun for you and not going to cause you stress, right? If you love chess, join the chess club. Do something that is fun in that space too, right? So that's my big recommendation, is really try to narrow down on what you're looking for. Don't think that you have to take everything. Take a little bit at a time, because you can still join any of those groups later, right? They're all happy to have people. You don't have to do it all at once.
I can go. It's funny, I'm gonna choose my word differently because it may sound like it contradicts Anna, but I would say, you know, I think there's a lot of traditional ways when we think about finding your place at college. And so sometimes it is the clubs, the orgs, the centers. What I was going to share on top of that is also give yourself space to explore. You know, I meet with a lot of students who feel I have to have the checklist connected to my academic endeavors and then elevate and repeat what I did in high school. Because if I did, X in high school, I'm going to do it here. This is the time to, when you go to the Duke Fair, maybe there is something that you're like, I don't even know what that's about, but it may sound kind of cool. So let me just check it out, right? And so my two things are just give yourself space and time to explore. It doesn't mean you have to lead it. Doesn't mean you have to be president of it. It just means to just, there's a lot of very open access that you can just come to and experience it one time, right? So I would get lost on campus. As a new employee, one thing that somebody told me, and I tell this to new staff and to students, we can get caught in the routine very early of this is my dorm, this is where I like to eat, this is where I eat at every day, these are where my friends live. And Duke, every building just is rich with something in it to see, do, learn. Oh, Duke had this, walking in the forest, some different things. So I think give yourself the opportunity in your first year and all your years to just explore, and it's okay to get lost.
Everyone will get lost here at Duke. I still get lost at Duke. I have been thinking about this question quite a bit. I interview graduating seniors one-on-one before they graduate. And every year I interview 25 to 30 graduating seniors. And I ask them all, so don't tell your students this. I ask them all a series of questions. And one of the questions I ask is, I'm putting you in a time machine. You can go back in time and you have 30 seconds with your first year self. What do you tell yourself? And every year, year after year, there's a consistent theme where seniors tell me they would tell themselves, don't be afraid to go places alone. And then when I ask them to expand on that, they say, I missed out on a lot of opportunities and places that I really loved, or spaces or activities that I really loved, because I felt like I had to go with friends and I couldn't get friends to go with me, or I couldn't find people to go with me. So I didn't go, and I really regret that. So I would challenge students once a week, because it can be hard to venture into a place that everything is new, and doing one more new thing can be hard. But take a 1 a week challenge and go to a place, a space, a group, a meeting, an event by yourself. Because if you're interested in it, not if you're not interested in it, of course. If you're interested in it, don't wait for friends. Go alone. Go do the things that you're interested in. Go do the things that bring you comfort, that bring you joy. Don't hesitate, because you're going to find and develop friends and community in those places and spaces that you were brave enough to go to.
Oh, that's all great advice. That's excellent advice. One thing I'd say is maybe just to chime in is don't be afraid to say no to some things. I mean, you kind of know early on, and don't feel like you have to keep going with it if you know it's just not going to be your thing. A highlight for me. So I moved into Duke 20 years ago in a few weeks. So this is the 20th anniversary of coming up of moving in. And I remember going to the activities fair and signing up for the club rugby team. And I went to the first club rugby practice, having never played rugby in my life. And they threw me the football, and the seniors just leveled me and just wiped me out. And I just laid on the ground and then dropped the football. And I just walked off the field and never went back to another rugby experience in my life. So don't be afraid to also just walk away and say, this isn't my thing. And it's never going to be my thing, and try something else. So just a little piece of advice. I'm going to go to a couple of questions. We got about 10 minutes or so. So I'm going to try to hit a couple of these that would be helpful. So, maybe a kind of a brief word from a couple of folks, and we might not, everybody doesn't have to answer each question, which is, what do it sounds like there are a lot of big changes that are happening right now. What's something that maybe that you're most excited about that's coming down the pike for the next 2 or 3 years at Duke?
Okay, I'll launch in. And this is going to be cliche. I'm most excited to meet your students. I am very excited to meet your students. And then next year, I'm going to be very excited to meet those students. A university is a place of change. And we wouldn't be educating and growing and learning, and students wouldn't be growing and learning without change in themselves and their growth and their development, in the academic findings of the institution. you know, that's what we do. And so I'm so excited to meet your students and see who they are and who they become. So
I'll jump in. And I know Ben did a quick overview of Quad X and the pillars and the concepts, but I think in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm excited to see as our students are engaging in just the way in which our campus is approaching belonging, engagement, and well-being, the changes that our students will start to experience, how they're going to talk about these things, how they're going to hold us accountable as we co-create these environments. So I'm excited for what's to come and those new ideas, because there's a lot of new initiatives and just ways in which we're thinking about our work to meet our student needs of today that I think QuadX has allowed for. And, you know, I know we're talking about the first years, but there's a lot of alumni support and campus support for this initiative, even thinking about the curriculum and how it advances community development at its core and wellness. So that excites me in the next couple of years.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I'm going to jump to the next question. What is maybe the biggest misconception about your office that you could correct right now?
I have one for all of the identity centers. This is a huge misconception about all the identity centers, that we're only for the population that identifies with our center, such as the Jewish Life at Duke only is for Jewish students. The Mary Lou Williams Center for Black Culture is only for Black students. The Women's Center is only for female identifying students. That is a complete misconception. We are for everyone. There are audiences that we are primarily for. And so when you come to, for instance, Jewish Life at Duke, you're coming to a Jewish space, you're coming to a Jewish meal. And so you might go, huh, this is some new food I haven't tried before. Or, oh, they say this blessing before the meal. I'm not going to say the blessing, but I'm interested to hear it. It'll be a growth opportunity, but we are for everyone.
I think one of the things that we find a lot from students is they really first just think of us as a process place. I even referenced this before, but the way that so many students interact with our team first is because they're in a student org and they're like, oh, I'm entering the event that we're hosting in 2 weeks into the event registration form, and like, cool, I know Lamar, who works there, is the one that reviews that send, right? And so the misconception is that we're a process place. But what we actually are and what we have a robust student staff to do is also help you be a growth place, right? So it can be, I want to host this event, but I'm struggling to figure out how to do that. Okay, great. We'll help you figure out how to do that. My club is, we're not getting along so well. I need some help. Someone help me figure that out. Or I don't know where to find a club for this. You know, that we are a process space as well, and it's easy to just see us as sort of a process, like just the one interaction space. So I would love for more students to know that we can be a whole person for them too.
I think for me, you know, it kind of hits to what Allie just said a second ago with Quad X. I think that there, you know, there's it's I think often been seen as simply a residential model, but it's so much more than what we're trying to do with residentially. That's a primary driver of it, no doubt. But it involves everything that Joyce is speaking about. It involves everything that Anna is speaking about, and it's a again just a structure and kind of a campus-wide commitment to ensuring this sense of belonging and well-being and engagement for your students. So it's so much more than that, and that's just an easy thing to get lost sometimes when it comes down to policies and things like that. I'm gonna ask one more question from the team, and then I'm gonna invite Dalton to close it out. Dalton, stay on, but I'm gonna ask one more question from the team that just kind of concluding remark, which is, what is your favorite Duke tradition?
I mean, I have to say LDOC.
Mm.
The last day of classes at Duke is in spring semester is a gigantic celebration all day long, and it ends with a really huge concert on the quad. It is a long and robust day for those of us that help host it and make it happen. And part of what I love about it is not just seeing all the students enjoy it and have just the most fun ever, but it's the amount of student affairs staff and just university staff across the space who show up, work together, get to like enjoy those students, enjoy each other, and put in effort on a day when they don't necessarily have to make sure that that event happens. And it's the sense of, right, we talked about belonging at the beginning, the sense of belonging of the community of people that are coming together to do that and to enjoy it as participants and to make it happen is just really fulfilling and wonderful. And it's a day I am exhausted at the end of, but it's still got to be my most fun tradition.
If Anna says the last day of classes, then I'm responsible to say, let me say move-in day is my favorite Duke tradition, which is in like 3 weeks, as you all are well aware. And just a little plug, we'll be back in a couple of weeks to talk about move-in day for this webinar, so tune in. But Duke does move-in day incredibly well. And it's just an exciting and a fun day. It's a chance for us to greet your student, to welcome them with open arms, to fling open the doors and bring this new class, this new generation of students coming to campus, but also to welcome you and invite you as the family into the Duke community as a whole. So it may feel daunting and it may feel stressful. My advice would be trust the process. We got you covered. It's all going to work out, and just enjoy it and have an awesome time. So it's a really fun day for all of us.
You can go, Joy. Oh.
I was just going to pick something quiet and introverted, because what we've heard from Anna and Ben are really fun, lots of people, tons of energy, programs, events, initiatives, which are great. I love them. I have many favorite Duke traditions, but something that is quiet and introverted is at the juncture of Perkins Library and the Rubenstein Library is a rotating gallery space. And when students walk into that space, and visitors and community members, you never know what exhibit you're going to see. And often it's an exhibit about something really neat about the history here at Duke. We've had exhibits there about the history of Muslim students and Muslim community members here at Duke. We've had an exhibit there about Latinx culture and community members here at Duke. It's just a wonderful space for a moment to reflect about all that came before in the university and all that we have here now.
Yeah, I would say for me, a newer tradition or revised tradition would be Brick to Stone, where the first year students, I'll say Dalton's program that you spent many hours planning, did a wonderful job. That allows our first year students to come to West Campus, and there's different components into kind of hanging out, then coming together with the students you're going to live with next year, then marching, hearing remarks from the presidents with your quad crest, then going into your quad, and the upper class students have planned an event for you. So it's just a really kind of just a great day. There's it happens around when alumni are on campus as well. And so the tradition has been around for a while in a very small scale iteration. And then about 2 years ago, this newer partnerships were made to make it what it is today. And so that is one that I've never seen at any other place. And it's just really memorable.
That's great, y'all. Well, let me thank everybody again for being here. Joyce, thank you for being here. Anna, thank you. Allie, thank you. Y'all been a wonderful panel. I hope this is just a small sampling of what we offer your student through campus life. And again, just a reflection of the promise that we make to create space where students feel like they belong and feel like this community is there. So let me pass it back to Dalton for a few concluding remarks, but thanks again.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ben. And again, thank you to all of our partners who've taken some time out of their evening to come speak with us for an hour. The closer we get to the semester, I know everyone's schedules keep getting busier and busier. So it really means a lot to our office, as well as to the parents and families who are watching this either live or recorded later. Before we end, I do just want to put out a plug for our webinar next week on the 31st. Our next one will be featuring our partners with Duke Police, Duke Reach, and the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards. So talking a little bit about how your students can remain safe at Duke while they're here. So if you haven't registered for that one, you can find that on the links on our website, the same way you got to this one. And then if there were any other questions that came up, or if you have other things that you need some advice with, feel free to email our office. It's familyprograms with an S at duke.edu. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction to connect with the people who know best. So with all that, again, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your evening to be here with us. We look forward to seeing you in the future, and go Duke.